Shout out to our friends at relics.com for debuting the new short film video for Time. New York group The Young Presidents grabbed New Orleans artist Ivan Neville, son of the legendary crooner Aaron Neville, and went down to their hometown of New Orleans to shoot this piece conceived and directed by, that's right, yours truly, me, the Q at Q-Score. If you like it, please spread the word. And remember, time will not wait for you. Check out the link. Hey, welcome back to Q-Score. I'm the Q and Q-Score, Jonathan McHugh, and I'm very happy to have my old friend Stephen Beer on the show. Welcome to LA, my friend.
It's great to be here.
Stephen's in New York, attorney, producer. He's involved with film, he's involved with music, he's involved with distribution. He's kind of one of those master of guys in the film and TV space, and thought it'd be good while he was here celebrating his, what number anniversary is this?
That would be my 25th wedding anniversary.
Wow, that's a big one. What do they call that? A silver, gold? What do they get?
That's a silver.
Silver.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. Not many people in our business even come close to that. I'm 22 and a half, and I'm, getting there, but congratulations to you and your wife on that.
Thank you very much, man.
That's beautiful. So let's talk about the film that's debuting at the Latin Alternative Conference in a couple weeks. It's a Cuban film. Andres Levine is a producer who I'm working with on a movie, George Lopez movie called Spare Parts. Tell us about the film and how you got involved and what's going on with the film.
Sure. Well, it's a great film. It's a sort of a hybrid documentary, surreal trip.
They call it a documental, right?
Documental,
the director.
Right. Well, so it takes a woman musician who was born in Cuba and lives in New York, right. And she has a foot in both cultures, and and
her name is Cuco Diamantes, right?
Yes.
And the film is Amor Cronico,
right? And she was has been the lead vocalist for Yerba Buena,
which is Andres' group,
yes,
right?
Yes, of course. So this film looks at her return to Cuba and the surreal activities that go on upon this return. She'd been dreaming about it for a long time. She goes to Cuba, and it is so it's a little bit of a documentary, true fact, and she goes on a tour, but there's some very interesting narratives that are weaved into it that are fictional and fantasy-like, and in some ways it reminds me a little bit of an old Beatles movie, where like Help or even Yellow Submarine, where they go on a voyage and crazy things happen.
Right. Yeah. The bus in the video reminded me of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yes.
It had a little bit of that vibe to it, that crazy, surreal trip across an unknown land, which is Cuba. Talk about Cuba for a second. I've never been there, you've never been there, but what do you think about why the music has been so powerful and has been able to, stand the test of time and become even a hipster-flavored thing?
Because the Cubans understand the combination of both skill and creating an environment. The music is not linear. It's just not a one-dimensional. It's medium. It really has, it offers so much, arrangements, elaborate percussion that just weaves in and out. And every song tells a story. And you don't even have to understand Spanish to appreciate the drama in that. So I think almost as much as any music form, Cuban music really creates a place, a time, an environment.
So tell us kind of in the small summary capsule of what your business is like and how you interact with so many different types of people all across the film and music landscape.
Sure. Well, like you, John, and of course we worked on a film many years ago called Crossroads with Britney Spears, and that was another example of where music helps to tell a story and gives artists a chance to flex the muscles, and really stretches both the worlds of film and music. They come together, and sometimes, oftentimes, you can create a magical space. In this instance, for Amor Cronico, there was an opportunity to take this magical tour, the return trip to Cuba, and to use it as, to leverage it as a way to market the film, so that as many people can see it and appreciate that a simple trip, a return home, has much more going on for it. And I think that experience touches on a lot of other people's experience. whether it was their experience personally or their parents' experience. And because it's been so difficult to go to Cuba, it becomes even more urgent for people to appreciate, embrace that experience, and to take that journey. And with that in mind, the producers asked me to come and help them bridge the film to the audience internationally, but focusing first on North America. So we were reaching out to all the various access points, and one of the things I really enjoy is getting into the fine points of film marketing and distribution. So rather than go through the conventional route in the traditional theaters, we decided that we would use the music as a way to reach out to the audience and make them aware of the film. Yerba Buena has a very big fan base. A lot of folks understand the music, and so using that music, we were able to find the audience, help to find the audience, and then touching into the Cuban cultural scene, we're able to bridge the film and create an environment for people so they can come to the film, but see a live performance. For the artists that are involved in the film, and also have a party, and so
right.
it really becomes an experience.
So in this situation, you're more in a distribution role. Other times, you'll take on more of an executive producer role, helping to raise financing for the movie, perhaps helping to cast, helping to work on different aspects of the movie, and then other times, you will just help set up a supervisor or composer, and we've worked together in that capacity also. How does that, your day-to-day of having that different, every day can be a different situation, how does that work for you in wearing many hats? Let's talk about that.
Well, the hat I wear principally is attorney, but there are a lot of attorneys out there. And what's fun for me as an entertainment attorney concentrating in film and music is bringing in the creative and fleshing out commercial platforms that can help finance a film and get it distributed, because making a great film is really only half the battle. The other half is marketing and distributing it. You really want people to experience the film with you. It helps careers, it helps to monetize the film, helps return money to the investors so that you're involved in a sustaining career, not just a one-off. So understanding, what I love to do is sit with my clients and understand their goals, and then build a success plan around those goals. What are their priorities? What's the timetable? What are the limitations? What's the budget? And like you, it's about issue spotting, like you and what you do in your role, in your music-focused role. It's about issue spotting and problem solving. We've been doing this for a long time.
Yes, we have.
So we have the experience to be able to and the relationships to be able to plug holes and to see opportunities.
Right. So,
that's fun.
For
that's a lot of
example,
fun.
you have a new movie coming out. You're working on Old 37. Tell me about that. Horror as a genre is always kind of it travels well across the world. What type of thing can you expect for that on the musical side?
Well, horror is a traditional genre, has an international audience, but within the world of horror, there are different kinds of there are approaches to it. And so a slasher approach or teen approach can call for, which is what Old 37 has. It takes place in a small town. The Old 37 is the name of a fictional ambulance where this EMS crew, these brothers who run the ambulance as part of an EMS crew, practice bad medicine in the back of Old 37. So we need some badass music, and so to help create that environment, that urgency. And so in this case, the producer has he has a music background. He was in a band and in some death metal, and really wanted to create that environment of the insight, of the mentality that the murderous brothers had. And so he reached out to some good folks. I think you were instrumental in brainstorming about that, and they're able to really to flesh out the story through the magic and the power of music.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the magic and power, Comedy Warriors is also another doc that you were working on that obviously tells the story of as Iraqi or Afghanistan veterans who get up and tell jokes, right, and talk about that powerful healing. Comedy can be
sure.
healing.
Well, I think the notion that we've seen is that humor and comedy really hold a lot of power. That it can heal. And in this case, the premise was that these iconic comedians, Zach Galifianakis, Bob Saget, Louis Black, and B.J. Novak, they teamed up with some recently wounded, seriously wounded and disfigured veterans and taught them the craft of comedy as a way to help transition them back and to create a life and to laugh at their new circumstance. And it turned out to be a powerful healer. And it's really, the music in the film really helps to bring that home. We were very fortunate that to reach out to Bruce Springsteen, who was very, very generous and very collaborative, and helped, and we were able to license one of his big songs as a closing credit track, and it really brought the film home in a beautiful way. Like sent people out of the theaters and you know, their whole viewing experience in a very positive place.
And so we talked about, you know, dealing with the marketing, dealing with the distribution, helping on the executive producing side. When we, you know, we're trying to do some work on the Tribe Called Quest documentary, it had some issues because that film, you know, those songs, a lot of the Tribe Called Quest original stuff, because they were one of the seminal New York hip-hop groups, had samples in it, and before people cleared samples. How do you deal with those kind of issues when you have things that are almost impossible to get done? That was an interesting one because it was a tough run, but it actually got done.
Look, that's a recurring theme. Anytime you're working with urban content and you're dealing with sampling. Sampling happens in a variety, but particularly with urban films. I produced years ago. I produced a film called Death of a Dynasty with Damon Dash and Jay-Z,
right.
And just about every song we had multiple you know, tracks weaved in there. It's painstaking and very expensive. The strategy, however, that I would share with your viewers is that there's so much good music out there, urban and otherwise, and there's a whole generation of young people who can create beats and sounds and environments that really give the feel of a generation, of a time, of a place, without having to rely on the very specific samples that jack up the price and can take a song out of the budget range, and so you have to pull it out of the film. The strategy there, however, is like in so many things in film, is planning. Is you can put a song in there and then go out and seek folks that play the song for producers. And for them, it's an opportunity to recreate that environment, not to copy it, but to certainly embrace the spirit of that. And there's so many people with home studios now that they can, you know, they can do this on the cheap, and you can still achieve that musical goal, that creative look and feel, but for pennies as compared to the challenges that we had, you know, for both the Tribe film, which entailed quite a bit of logistical and challenges and expense, and Death of a Dynasty, which
yeah, with the Tribe movie, at the end of the day, it was as simple as getting Barry Weiss, who's the head of Jive Records, on the phone, and getting Leo Cohen, who's the head of Warner, I guess, at the time, right?
Yeah.
Chappell Publishing at the time, and just making deals with them, because, you know, there's layers of people in between them, and those layers they're important. You have to make sure all those people are in the loop. But at the end of the day, if you can get to the decision makers to close deals, that's what you have to do.
Closing, you can have the money, but you still have to close the deals. You have to get people on the phone, and you've got deadlines, and you can't sit around and wait for people to get back to you. The good people at the record labels are frequently overwhelmed. They have a lot on their plate. Staffs have really been thinned considerably. So if you have the relationships with someone like you, John, you know how to get pretty much anyone on the phone. That's really important because you still need the authorization even where you have the money, and you know, you're on the clock, and you just need to get to the right people and not the various layers that can put you in the legal musical thicket.
So in your premise before about obviously that it's a great time for artists to create music and to work, what recommendations do you give young artists, because you work with a number of them, in finding ways to get their songs in film and to write for film and to relationships?
That's a great question. Some of the artists that we're working with now have done a really good job at creating their own narratives, their video narratives around their music. There are open source music platforms like Hit Record where you can just put your music up there.
So tell us, elaborate a little bit on Hit Record. What is that?
Yeah, Hit Record fascinated me when I first learned about it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the actor, has a really strong music background, is very empowerment oriented. So he created this open source music platform that gives people from all over the world a chance to upload their music or their images, maybe a poem, and then invite other people in that community, and there are tens of thousands.
So it's just a pool. The music gets uploaded into an online pool.
Music,
and everybody
images,
can go there and find
lyrics, and so it's up there, and you can invite, you can say, hey, I'm putting this up here, I'm inviting you to put your...
So you join in. So whereas YouTube is just the whole world, this is a smaller pool that you can join into.
And it's also a collaboration community. So you're part of the community because you want to not just to play things for other people, but to invite other people to work with you. And they've set up a commercial platform where where Hit Record will take a fee and the creators or co-creators will split the balance. It actually works. We're working with an artist now who's done very, very well, has a sustaining career just by uploading great music onto Hit Record. She put up one song, and then a Russian illustrator, French animator. They joined forces, and it's a beautiful piece. You're collaborating with people with whom you've never sat in a studio, but you're really touching a lot of people, and I think that's something that when we were coming of age,
it's great. And how does break down the exact monetization of that content when it goes up versus what happens with it? Does it get sold or bought?
It is. It's licensed. It's licensed on a non-exclusive basis, and so people will buy it, and the platform will take 50% of it, and the creators take the other 50%, and it's not locked in. They can take that music and license it elsewhere. So that's just an example of the sort of trends of what we're seeing. You don't have to live in New York, LA, Austin, Nashville anymore. This particular artist lives in an island off of Helsinki, and she has an international following now, which is just really, really great. That's an example of why I think there's never been a better time ever, and we've been doing this for a while. There's never been a better time to be a content creator, especially music content, because if the music's good and you're smart about marketing it, there are more ways to connect with people and communities and with licensees like producers without being beholden to gatekeepers and record labels or publishers. You can create some noise. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you as to why I think this is a great time is that some of the artists are creating their own music videos that have film narratives. And it really captures the imagination of other storytellers or producers who think, wow, I need to have this music in my film, or I can build a narrative, a long-form narrative around this particular video. And that's been going on.
A short film scenario.
A short film, yeah.
Just basically,
it's a music video that has a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
And, or it takes you to a very interesting place. And because you can do it for the means to create and the barriers to entry are so modest that you can, for very little money, help flesh out the story, give dimension to your music by creating, by showing it with images. It feels to me that the consumer today more and more is discovering artists like they did with the advent of music videos. But they're discovering artists it's not just the music on the radio, but they really go to YouTube and other visual platforms to experience that music. And so if you can control the first contact, the first interaction, and the way that people are going to enjoy your music with the imaging as well. I think that's great, and you can do it for relatively low budgets. You know, why not? So I recommend that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I produced a video for Baldassar Getty that he directed for his music. He did a record with Asdru from Ozo Motley, a project called Extracto, and he just basically made a short film, and that was the video. So
I think this generation of music artists is much more comfortable in front of the camera, but because they're not just thinking narrowly, they're thinking much more broadly. They're getting behind the camera too, and they're writing narratives. They're more interesting music videos today. So Stephen, I think that's an opportunity.
Thank you so much for coming out, and once again, happy anniversary, and come visit us more often here on Q Score.
It's been great.
Stephen Beard, you go to New York, that's your guy right there. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
For more Q Score, please check us out at emPOWERme.tv to find out what goes on behind the curtain and how the film and TV music gets made. It happens right here. Tune in.